As a metalworking tradesman, I've cut a lot of different materials and I've sharpened cutting tools to cope with different processes. And I know well that different sharpening angles suit different jobs better. But I've had this pig-headed idea in the back of my mind, even if I know otherwise theoretically, that the best knife is hair shaving sharp. But there are other things to consider. A very fine edge that will shave is not necessarily a very durable edge. It's okay for a pocket knife where you're not working it hard and you can sharpen it again easily in the comfort of your home. But if you're outside and you're working, like the night I got these 5 pigs, then you want the knife to last the distance. You might have to push a bit harder to cut, but at least at the end of the night, you're still getting through the work you have to do. I like to think of cutting as applying pressure to material. And if you have the same person wearing different shoes with a broad heel, they're not so likely to damage your wooden floor. But when they put their same weight down through a very sharp stiletto heel, chances are they're going to penetrate the floor material and cut into it and make a mess. So think about pressure. And here's a cold chisel, which will, if hammered hard enough, will cut through steel with relative ease. If the edge had been finer, this is a very blunt edge, but if the edge had been finer, the edge might have buckled or broken or chipped right off. And you don't want that. So there's different angles for different jobs. And when I think about edge durability, I think about the serrated knife you might have in your kitchen. It might perform well enough, efficiently enough, over a long period of time between sharpenings. Whereas the knife that you use for carving or cutting up fine tomatoes might feel dull after a relatively short time of hitting against the board and being abused in different ways. So I think all edges do have some degree of serration on them, even if you can't see it. So if you use a coarse stone, you're going to have sort of coarse, small serrations, and if you use a fine stone, the serration is going to be even smaller. So there's something to think about, because serrations really do seem to help, because you're applying the pressure through the small point of the serration. I've used various means of sharpening. Right now I'm happy with just ordinary stones. Those are diamond stones, good quality ones. There's some cheaper ones, quite coarse, so you want to drag your knife over that rather than push it. Little pocket stone, about 120 grit, very handy. And here's a stone that cost me maybe $3 to $5. You can see it's got a dished edge. From a $2 shop it came, but if it's all I could have for the rest of my life, then I'd be satisfied. Now when you're sharpening a knife, you can have a low angle by holding the blade close to the stone, or you can lift it up higher and have a blunter angle, but the blunter angle may be more durable. And here's a bit of wood I've cut to 20 degrees, just to give an idea of what 20 degrees look like. And that's a good sort of an angle for a rough and ready knife, a knife that you're going to bash around a bit. Finer is better for slicing a lot of meat and things if you look after the knife. I'll never use oil for lubricating a stone. I just use water and maybe a bit of dish detergent. And I like to apply pressure mainly when I'm dragging the edge over the stone, but anything goes. My dad always used to use a rotary motion when sharpening his knives, and it worked for him. A lot of people like to go forward, pushing the edge, and this can work very well and work quite quickly if you've got a good stone that's hard and your edge isn't going to, and your knife isn't going to bite into it. I prefer though, particularly on a rougher stone, or one like this one that's dished, to drag the edge. And if towards the end of the process I use lighter and lighter strokes, I can get quite a good result. You might be quite surprised how sharp an edge can be off a rough stone. So people talk about raising a burr on a knife. That's what you've got to do. You sharpen it, you raise a burr, then you turn it over and you do the other side. Well, I don't like to, my goal isn't to raise a burr, because you're just chewing up a lot of metal, cutting off a lot of your blade doing that. I just like to approach it gently on both sides and just grind until my two sides sort of meet on a nice edge. But it's up to you. And a magnifying glass is a big help. It's good to have a look at how you're going. You can learn a bit from that. It's handy to have a portable stone for taking out in the bush, And this small stone with 120 grit will do a job. It didn't cost much, but you can use it hard on the bench, or you can just do light strokes like I'm showing here, which is safer to drag the blade towards your fingers rather than push it. And if you finish with light strokes, you can get sharp edge. And after you've finished with a stone, you can use a really hard stone to get rid of the burr, or a ceramic hone, or a sharpening steel, or maybe even a strop, like I've got a leather strop in the bottom of the picture and some green abrasive material that you just rub into it, and you can get a really fine polished edge. Is it necessary? I don't think it always is necessary, but I'm a bit of a knife nut and I take pride in having a really sharp edge at times. But you don't need all this gear. Often I'll just finish a knife on the back of a ceramic plate and I can get a really good edge doing that. Hair shaven sharp straight off a coarse stone. Or you can strop on cardboard, corrugated cardboard or paper. You might be surprised at how well it works. So, use different methods, different stones, different grits, different sharpening angles, and see what works for you.